ASRock's trying to reduce your AMD burn risk. Nvidia's got a couple big whales keeping them afloat, and Intel might have a chance. All right, give them a better look than you were earlier. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast. This Monday, September 1st, 2025. Yes, it is a new month, last month of the third quarter of this year, and we're going to talk about trying to fix those AMD CPUs that you might be running on an ASRock AM5 motherboard, because this has been something that's been in the discussion wheel as of late, which is that AMD CPUs are still kind of burning up, and a large portion of them do appear to be happening on ASRock motherboards. AMD has said that it's the motherboard manufacturer's fault, and ASRock has now put out their BIOS version 3.4 that allegedly is helping to fix some of that, with many places saying that it's helping to reduce your burn risk for your AM5 CPU. So in this, it appears that they changed a whole lot with regards to voltages, which is what was speculated was one of the big problems for bursting out those X3D CPUs, and now months, if not almost a year later, we're getting some changes making it so that you might be able to use your motherboard without certain things going up in smoke. But in case your old computer is going up in smoke and it's not necessarily, the fault of a motherboard or whatnot, you should definitely check out today's video sponsor, because man, this year is flying by, isn't it? Summer's almost over and September is here, which means Green Day is almost awake. And we're all supposed to remember some night this month. I think the 21st. Anyway, just because the weather is cooling off doesn't mean the deals from today's sponsor, Jawa, are. Jawa remains the #1 online marketplace for gamers to buy and sell PC hardware. I'm talking GPUs, CPUs, and even fully built systems. Jawa makes it super easy to buy or sell by putting security first and foremost. As a buyer, you get the peace of mind in knowing that every listing on Jawa has been manually reviewed by a real person before it goes up on the site. Additionally, when you're shopping around, some sellers will have this special little check mark. That means they've been extra well behaved and have been given the seal of approval by none other than John Jawa himself. Okay, so John Jawa isn't actually real, but still, it means this is a great person to buy from. No matter which end of a transaction you're on, Jawa always makes sure your information is super safe and super secure. And speaking of transactions, which one of you is going to act on this dummy good deal I found? This Asus TUF 4060 Ti for only 345 bones. You just can't beat it. Trust me. I looked. Now remember, whichever one of you lucky little ducks lands this deal better be trading in your old GPU to make this deal even sweeter. Trading in is super easy on Jawa. You just put in your card or CPU's info, answer a few questions about condition, and bam boom, you've got a quote. Now it's time to either grab the bones and scoot or hand it over to Jawa and tell them, put it on my tab. And by tab, I mean applying it towards the cost of the new card, the one we were talking about earlier, if you got that, or if the whichever one you're gonna end up buying. And once you snag a killer deal, go ahead and feel free to brag about it in Jawa's official Discord. It's a great place to learn about new deals, flag some can't miss buys, and just generally talk shop with fellow builders and gamers. Make your next upgrade with Jawa today, and check out other crazy deals they have on offer via the link in the description below. You can save even more when you use code UFD10 and get 10% off your order up to $10. Big thanks to Jawa for sponsoring today's video. I gotta tell you, I might start trading in a couple GPUs to Jawa to get that cold hard cash in order to buy myself a handheld, which is allegedly gonna debut hopefully later this week. And then as the Legion Go 2 is now rumored to see its pretty sights unveiled at Berlin's IFA show, which is happening from the 5th through the 9th. We already know a pretty decent amount about this handheld. It's gonna be 1200p OLED, 144 hertz for variable refresh rate. It's gonna have the Z2 Extreme chip. It's gonna be freaking fantastic, basically every single way that you could possibly imagine, and have the detachable Joy-Cons that you have seen with the previous version of the Legion Go. I think this is like the dominant gaming handheld for PC gamers, especially with the whole SteamOS support that Lenovo now has. Putting SteamOS on this with that screen, oh, it's gonna be so good. It's probably gonna be pricey, but allegedly gonna be launching later this week. I'm excited for it. And I don't think Nvidia is necessarily excited about having all of their eggs in one basket or all of their whales in one net, because that's coming out with Nvidia's earnings report last week. We saw that they made billions upon billions of dollars in gaming, and then 10 times that in their data center, to the tune of like 40 billion or so. Now, there's further details coming out that was roughly, mostly, just 3 various customers accounting for a lot of their data center revenue. So customer A bought $9.5 billion, customer B bought $6.6 billion, and customer C bought $5.7 billion. That is 53% of their revenue coming from just 3 companies. Now, it's not been disclosed by Nvidia who those companies are. There's been plenty who are talking about building out massive data centers. Twitter's XAI setup from Elon Musk has discussed buying a bunch of GPUs. OpenAI has discussed it. Meta's probably building some farms. Google could possibly be building their own farms, except for they build their own tensor processing units for those. But gigawatt clusters is something that they're working on, and it could be that the Zuck is one of the big bad boys from Nvidia making their money happening, with Nvidia saying that it's not a big deal. It's just large cloud service providers. Don't worry about it, even though it accounts for a significant portion of their revenue. It's totally fine. This is not going to make things worse in the future at all. Couldn't possibly be a situation where they don't come back, because if Nvidia is making new GPUs, then the ones that they just sold, those billions, it's worthless now. You have the new good, so you gotta sell them that. And Reece is gonna sell you some deals. He's gonna try to make you spend less, not more. But the more you buy, the more you see.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals out on the internet. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you guys had a good weekend, and let's jump into the deals. Starting off, we have this EPO maker back again with the Galaxy 65 wireless hot swappable mechanical keyboard for only $54.99, making it $55 or half off. But then we also have this Belkin Thunderbolt 3 Dock Pro for only $69.99, making it $110 off. And then lastly, we have this very alien looking Gravistar Mercury M1 Pro wireless gaming mouse for only $80 with the coupon applied, making it $20 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, it turns out that US gamers are getting an okay deal when it comes to GPUs, because as of now, you will not have to pay 25% on that GPU for a tariff that was supposed to enact today on September 1st. Got delayed another 3 months until the end of November for it to necessarily get either extended or implemented again. So this is something that has kind of been going back and forth for years now. This was initially enacted back in 2018 during the first Trump administration. It went into effect where GPUs were caught under this wide sweeping tariff for electronics that were coming out of China or otherwise. And then in 2019, it received a temporary exemption that has just been continuously renewed on a short-term basis, and we are in the latest short-term extension for that. So not more expensive GPUs for that specific reason happening right now. And what's happening in Intel is they're filing a patent for some specific reasons to use more than one core combined together. They filed a patent for software-defined supercores. And so the general idea of this entire patent is that instead of having things like hyperthreading, where you take one core and have it be able to do 2 tasks at once, you instead take 2 cores, fuse them together, and make them do 1 task at once, because it would be better for efficiency and allow for things like faster data exchange because of a shared memory space. And the way that this patent works is that Intel's defining it as the operating system that it's partnering with would be able to allocate whether or not it's going to a super core or it's going to a regular core, and they can be piled together or split apart willy-nilly depending on how the operating system chooses to address them, which we've never seen problems with things like this before. But the general idea is that it's supposed to be kind of like an inverted hyperthreading situation. In the video cards article, they talk about how people on Reddit were comparing it to bulldozers. Clustered multi-threading, which was splitting one core into multiple modules, even though it wasn't actually really hyper-threading, whereas Intel's kind of the exact opposite of that. You're getting an 8-core CPU, but sometimes, the first 2 cores are acting together. So during that moment, you have a 7-core CPU, but in the next moment, you have an 8-core CPU, but then maybe sometime later, cores 4 and 5 are working together. So you're back to a little 7-core situation. It's not quite clear how many cores can combine to become one just giant super duper cluster, but Intel definitely working on new ways to make CPUs work on PCs moving forward. And that's exactly what their CFO wants us looking at, is the forward direction of the timeline, which is the future, because they're saying that their current generation just wasn't up to snuff. Now, this is kind of a change that's being made with Intel as of late. They've been more likely to own up to the fact that they are not competing with AMD. It's been something that's been said multiple times by this current CEO administration in Intel, and this is just yet another instance where the CFO came out and essentially said that they fell short and that their current architecture really isn't going to meet the demands that they're trying to see met in the general space, with them saying, as you know, we kind of fumbled the football on the desktop side, particularly the high performance desktop side. So as you kind of look at share on a dollar basis versus a unit basis, we don't perform as well. And it's mostly because of this high-end desktop business that we didn't have a good offering this year, and essentially saying that Nova Lake is supposed to change that argument and make it so that they're more competitive with Zen 6, hopefully later next year. They do say that Panther Lake is currently on track to launch this year and things are looking good, and that they did have some issues with yield because of the 18A process technology in Panther Lake, but it's allegedly getting fixed and they're going to be able to move forward where things are okay. So it's kind of a big move that Intel is now starting to publicly admit that they are behind. Again, this isn't the first time that they've done it, but is apparently one of the new markers of Intel moving forward, is them admitting that they are not as big in their britches as they want to be. You know, it's actually interesting because I watched the episode of Hot News where we discussed the launch of the Arrow Lake CPUs of the Core Ultra 200 series when those reviews came out, and I forgot how bad it actually was, just how rough the 285K can be, losing to a 13600K in certain instances, and the real only advantage it has is being more efficient than previous Intel CPUs, but AMD CPUs are just more efficient. If you get the X3D stuff, the 9800 X3D just kind of smacks the floor with it. It's a strange situation, and we actually got to test this on the mobile side of things. We were able to review the 9955 HX3D, the latest Zen 5 X3D CPU for the laptop, versus the Core Ultra 275, and we found that efficiency-wise, it's actually a pretty big deal in mobile because you share a power profile, and if the CPU is more efficient, that means you have extra power envelope to dedicate to the GPU. And so one for one, if you have a 9955 HX3D versus a Core Ultra 275, and they're putting out the same performance, technically, if the X3D is more efficient, you're going to have more power envelope for the GPU and thereby be faster, and that's kind of what we found in our review of the MSI Raider A18, which you can check out right up there. That video went live this weekend. Check it out in case you're interested, and you might also be interested in a current offering that Intel's looking to come out with, and that is the Core Ultra 3 205. Now, this is something that I've been having some discussions with our audience with about lately, just kind of indicating that AMD does have its place basically from the mid-tier on up. It takes basically from the Ryzen 5 to the Ryzen 9. There's very few reasons to even consider Intel. But when you start getting into the budget builds, the i3 14100 and 14100F combined with more affordable motherboards just tends to be a pretty sensible buy when it comes to spending as little money as possible but still getting decent performance. AMD has not released a Ryzen 3 in very many moons, and if you wanted to get a more affordable AMD CPU, you have to go back multiple generations and you have to go for something like a Ryzen 5, whereas the 14100 and 14100F are brand new and selling that, whereas the Core Ultra 205 is supposed to be the replacement for those, and based on benchmarks that we're now seeing come out, has 30% higher multi-core performance over the 14100 because, based on the new Arrow Lake architecture, it has 8 cores. This is going to be Intel's first 8-core entry-level CPU, which we talked about how Intel was not giving us more than quad cores for the longest time until they were forced to from AMD, and now Intel is kind of providing a lot more on the low end than AMD is. I just like to see it. I like to hype up where things are happening, where it's not the exact narrative that's coming out. The 14100F you could get for $90 right now over on Newegg. The Core Ultra 205 allegedly might start more expensive than that at $150. That kind of ruins its argument. The 14100F probably at $90 is still going to stay a really top contender for significant value, but for 8 cores at $150, that's not exactly the worst deal. It's just going to come down to motherboard and RAM compatibility to make that work, which is going to hurt it. But in the future, as those things get more expensive, it might be slightly better. Anyways, I just wanted to highlight some more lower end stuff that Intel's doing, and I'm going to highlight that this episode of Hot News is over. I'll see you back here here maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after for more of the hottest tech news.